Hey everyone, so today we're in my bathroom and I'm going to be showing you how to switch out the faucet or the shower cartridge that's inside of here. Typically you'll need to do this if you're turning the lever and you're noticing it's not controlling the water the way you would expect, if it's not getting to the temperature you expect as you're going from cold to hot. If you start to see leaks that are coming out of here, that could be another issue, or if this is just overly difficult to turn, that could also be a signal that you need to replace the cartridge that's in here. Now I'll be replacing the cartridge on this specific Moen trim kit. However, for any Moen trim kit that uses the Posi-Temp valve, this same exact cartridge and process will apply. So if you have a different looking trim kit, no need to worry. As long as it uses that Posi-Temp valve, which almost all Moen showers do, then you'll be in good shape. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the cartridge that goes into the valve, just check out the link above and you'll see exactly the one that is used in this specific faucet. In case you don't have a replacement, you need to order one, that will be the one that you want. Before you do anything, the critical step is that you first turn off the water. If you do try to pull out that valve cartridge with the water still on, water is going to shoot out of the Posi-Temp valve all over your shower. Hopefully it stays in the shower, but if not, it could go everywhere in your bathroom. So number one step, first turn off the water main in your house. If you happen to have a circulation pump on your hot water tank, you probably should turn that off as well, just in case it tries to run while you're working on switching out that cartridge. As far as the tools that you're going to need for this one, pretty simple overall. You're just going to need an Allen wrench to be able to get that handle off of the shower trim kit, screwdriver to get off the escutcheon plate of that trim kit, as well as some of the internal components, and then some vice grips are nice to be able to pull out the stem from that cartridge. So pretty simple as far as the tools you'll need. All right, first thing we're going to do is use that Allen wrench to take off this shower handle here. Typically there's just a little set screw that's underneath of there. So we're going to slot this in, untwist that, and then this will come right off. Next, we're going to take off this valve assembly here. There's just a screw in the middle, and then this piece, as well as the two white pieces underneath, will come off. So we'll take those off now. Okay, so that piece comes off. And then there's two little white pieces in here. Just to give you an idea of the purpose of those, in case you ever decide to do this, you can actually offset this first piece. They just have little teeth. If you offset that, then that's going to limit the maximum temperature you can set. So if you want it to go all the way to maximum, just line them up there up top. If you want to limit it, the further you go to the right, the more it's going to limit that maximum temperature. But for this purpose, we're going to take both of those pieces out of there. Okay, now you can actually see the stem of that cartridge right there. That's what needs to come out, but if you look a little bit closer, you might be able to see there's a little key that's that kind of paperclip looking thing. That's holding it in place, so I can't pull it out without first taking off this cover here, as well as the escutcheon plate. So I'm going to start with these screws next. All right, now we can pull that escutcheon plate off. It might be a little tight or it might have caulk around the edge of it, so you might need to take a blade and cut that. Mine wasn't caulked, so it's okay. I'm just gonna pull that off. And then I need to get this off as well in order to get to that little key that's holding it in place. A little bit of corrosion there, so it didn't want to come off too cleanly. Was able to get that off, not too bad. All right, so here's what you're looking for. Inside of kind of this outer shell of the valve, this is the cartridge, and then here's that pin that needs to be just pulled up and out in order to pull this out. And then you're gonna get that new one with that link that I shared. You can scroll down to find that again, but then you're just gonna slot that new one in, put the pin back, and then we're gonna put all the escutcheon and the rest of the shower valve trim kit back in. So first we're just going to use a flathead screwdriver here to pull out that pin, which should come out relatively easily. It might be corroded a little bit, but mine's fairly new. So just to give you an idea what that looks like. One last step before I pull that out, just because there could potentially be water still in between the shower head and the valve down here. I am going to give that just a little bit of a twist to allow any water to drain back down that might be trapped up there. So I'll use those vice grips for that. You can kind of hear the water and the air running out. I'm not sure if that'll pick that up good. Go ahead and turn that back to the off position. So I'm just going to use those vice grips to try to get that out of there. You may need to spray with some WD-40 in case it's really corroded and stuck in there, but just try to like twist it back and forth a little bit. Don't pull it out too fast. You don't want that stem to rip off, and then you got to worry about getting the rest of this out. They do actually make a tool for this. I'll link that up above in case you're not comfortable doing it with pliers and want to get the actual tool, but it basically threads inside the valve stem and then gives you more leverage to pull it out without damaging it. Kind of smooth. Don't try to yank it all out at once. Just take your time with it. Okay. So you can see what that looks like there, just like the one that you would get to replace it. So take the one out of the package that you have to replace it, slot it back in there, and then we'll just put the rest of the trim kit back on. And that should solve any issues that you had with either leaking or stiff handle or not mixing the temperatures like it should mix them. So not too bad. Save you a little bit of money instead of calling a plumber. Okay, so we'll put that back in there. Mine wasn't damaged, so this is actually the same one, but obviously you'd be putting your new one in there. Just try to slot that back in. Okay, and then you'll put that pin back in there. You got to make sure it's all the way back in, or else you're going to have issues getting the pin. So that'll be your tell whether or not you got it back in there all the way. Okay, that went in there nice and easy. We'll slide that jacket back on there. Don't worry about which direction. Only one direction should actually fit on there. I'll try the wrong direction first and show you it doesn't fit on there, so it should be easy to figure out what's the correct direction. So just push that back on there. Then we'll put that escutcheon plate back on. Just have to make sure we line up the screws with these holes in here, and then in the actual Posi-Temp valve behind there also has the threads that these will go into. As far as how tight to make these screws here when you're doing that, just try to make sure you get to the point where it's nice and snug, but you don't want to just screw these to the point where you're actually bending the trim kit itself or the escutcheon plate itself. And we'll pop on kind of that valve kit that was in there. So the white pieces go first. And remember, if you have these lined up top, looks like a little off, then that's going to be the maximum temperature it will allow. If you want to be at less than the maximum temperature, you go further and further to the right, and then it'll limit the max temperature. And this piece here goes to the left of that little notch on the top. All right, screw that back into place. Again, don't over tighten that. We'll put that handle trim piece back on. Line that up, and then you'll put that set screw, or it should look very similar in your case as well, back in there. Okay. All right, then you're all set. That's all there is to it. Shouldn't take you more really than about 15 or 20 minutes or so. But if you got value from this video, appreciate you giving me a thumbs up. If you want to be notified for future DIY content, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, we'll see you here on the next one.